So I've been playing 5e for about 2 years, and I've had my fair share of problem players, but since it was usually online, it was never that bad of a time. Block, move on, and it's pretty easy to avoid dealing with anyone you're not vibing with. This unfortunately took place during my first in-person campaign. So, a bit of backstory. Some pals at work heard that I played D&D, specifically that I have experience as a DM, and we all thought it would be fun to play a game together. It seemed like a good idea. The two guys I was talking to were friendly and fun to hang out with, so I was open to giving them a chance to try it out. It was their first game, and they even knew a third player to bring in too, who had miniatures and stuff and also wanted to host. I grew excited, thinking maybe he was experienced and thought it was really nice of him to bring in. Oh, my poor naive soul. Firstly, the third player was not very experienced at all. He had tried to DM once for the other two players, and they described the encounter as kinda terrible, because he trapped him in a near half-hour conversation with a barmaid named Milky. You can probably guess why she was named that. So yeah, I had only one conversation with him at work before, but I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. So we had a mini session 0 to work everyone's characters out, since none of them knew how to make a character sheet and whatnot. That guy decided on a barbarian who used to be a city guard, but fell in love with the general's daughter, and for one reason or another was framed for murder by a rival and had to flee. Now he swears vengeance on his rival and wants to return to his lover. I was like, sure, okay, not the worst setup I've ever seen, whatever. The campaign setting was homebrew, of my own creation, and they started a bit more leveled than normal since they decided they had already been traveling and adventuring for a while before. And throughout the first session, he talked over the others, who weren't super used to the whole roleplay aspect, and I wanted to encourage them to come out of their shells a little. And he also took charge constantly before anyone could get a word in. It was already my plan to pull him aside and talk about this once the session was already over, but I couldn't predict what would happen at the last encounter of the session. They wanted something a Banshee was guarding, and I had left them little clues of alternate ways to deal with the Banshee. But before I even finished my sentence, I'm interrupted by that guy who had his character loudly declared that Banshee is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I must have her for a wife. And then he took off running after her. She screamed, and unfortunately everyone was enraged. Everyone failed their con throws, meaning everyone's HP dropped to 0. I couldn't believe what happened, but I tried to play it off like everything was fine. It was getting late anyway, so I told him we'll figure out what happens next when we meet again. I never played with that guy again. I'm still good friends with the other two. They don't really talk to that guy anymore either. But here's a little bit of miscellaneous info about that guy. He bragged to me, we literally barely knew each other, I'm just some random girl at work, that he joined a completely not safe for work Roll20 game. He also called me prude when I said I wouldn't roleplay a whole intimate scene in front of everyone in my games. He also recommended a Star Wars video game to me with the selling point that you can own your own slave and shock her if she disobeys you. I haven't played another game in person since, but I'd like to one day. That guy is weird. He switches loyalties way too quickly and is simply girl crazy. The fact that he brags about playing in not safe for work games is a major red flag. I don't really think he wants to play D&D, but what do you all think?